Hello again. If you're watching this, you probably saw my other videos. If not, I'm really surprised to see anybody else watching this. But I decided to start branching out into my Blu-ray library and start talking about movies that are either important to me or that I just really like. And the first one that I've decided to do is Stranger Than Fiction. And I picked this movie for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of like heavyweight classic movies up on my shelf. I've got your, Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai kind of stuff, Jaws and Back to the Future, and just foundational stuff. But in terms of movie making, this is a movie that I really believe everybody who wants to make films should see. Regardless of whether or not it's your kind of movie, it's just an amazing way of playing with the narrative of what a movie could be. So it stars Will Ferrell, Maggie Gyllenhaal, I'm reading right off the case, Dustin Hoffman, Queen Latifah, and Emma Thompson. And the premise of the story is that a man, played by Will Ferrell, named Harold Crick, wakes up one day and just starts hearing a narrator, like, narrating his life. Just, Harold woke up the same way he always did. He brushed his teeth 37 times or something like that, and he's just like he just spits out the toothpaste and he's like, hello? And it's this sort of, self-examination of this character through the lens of, like, somebody else has been writing my life, or, like, somebody else is watching me all the time. And he's an IRS auditor, and he has a wristwatch, which basically, like, is this personified sort of narrative device in the story. So the narrator is saying all these things throughout the first day that he's hearing her, and then she says something to the effect of, like, little did he know that it would lead to his death. And he's just like, what? What do you mean? In the middle of the street. So he looks like a crazy person. And Maggie Gyllenhaal's character comes in because he's an IRS agent and he's auditing her. She's a baker who has questionable financial practices. So they have sort of a, little, like, back and forth where they slowly get to know each other very well and start a relationship. And at the same time, he goes trying to find who the narrator could be. So he goes to, like, a literary expert, and the literary expert is Dustin Hoffman. And Dustin Hoffman helps him to narrow it down to this one author, and her name is Karen. I cannot remember the last name, but basically they see her on the news when Will Ferrell is standing in Dustin Hoffman's office, and he says, that's her, that's the voice. And he's like, ooh, yeah. And Will Ferrell goes, what? And he's like, yeah, in all of her books, the main character dies. Like, every single time. She's an amazing writer, and that's kind of one of her things. So he then has to grapple with the fact, like, oh my god, I'm going to die. And there's nothing I can do about it. And I also think I'm going crazy because there's this voice. So he continues his relationship. His first tactic to deal with what's going on is to just not engage with it, not do anything. Because Dustin Hoffman tells him, if you don't do anything, then, nothing can happen, right? So he sits in his apartment, and a bulldozer, or like a crane or a claw or something, just busts through his wall to demolish it. And he, starts freaking out, and it turns out they made a mistake. They were supposed to go to, like, the other apartment building across the street. But now he has to stay at his friend's apartment, which happens to be, I think, Tony Hale, who plays Buster on Arrested Development. And essentially, this movie continues on until he seeks out and confronts Emma Thompson's character, who is the author. And Queen Latifah plays her agent from the publishing company, who's trying to make sure, or not the agent, she's like a fixer, trying to make sure that the writer is staying on target and, like, getting her book in by the deadline. So you have these two narrative threads. You really have Harold Crick, his love story, and his is trying to figure out what's going on with his life. And then you have Karen trying to come to terms with the fact that she might be actually killing people through her writing, because she at one point starts to freak out and goes like, I killed a teacher the day before summer vacation. And it's such a magnificent way to play with a narrative structure, having a narrator, and what that means for a story. When your character can hear and understand that the narrator is there, like, what does that do to them? And it's such a fantastic movie, and Will Ferrell, I think, gives one of his best performances. I would say easily one of his best performances in any movie. It's really quick, it's succinct. I don't know how long it is, but I can't imagine it being over an hour and a half. It's a very... It was made in 2008. It's a very, like, 113 minutes. So, close to 2 hours, which I'm surprised about it. It really doesn't feel like that to me. But I wanted to talk about this movie specifically because out of all the movies on my shelf, it's one of the ones that really made me want to start looking into filmmaking and really made me want to start making movies. And in 2008, I was in high school, and my brother gave me this Blu-ray. And I think it was 2009 or 2010 that I got the Blu-ray. But I watched it over and over a few times because I was so just spellbound by it. I probably watch it twice a year. But his character is kind of this uptight guy who has always been by the book. He's an IRS agent, so he performs audits. And he just does such a great job at conveying, this person who, like, has never taken a risk, has never done anything, gone out on a limb, isn't in a relationship, doesn't have anybody in his life, and it's, the first time in his life that he's really after somebody, because he and Maggie Gyllenhaal end up, sort of reconciling their differences and then becoming really close and then forming a relationship. And all of it culminates in an ending that I'm not going to spoil, but there are elements laid out in the film that seem like, why are we seeing this, or what is this? And they all come together at the end. And it's really a fantastic exercise in how to write a movie and how to put a movie together to be able to tell a complete story. And again, like I said, play with the narrative structure that we're used to. Because when you hear a narrator, you're assuming it's the person narrating, or it's an overseer. A narrator who's omniscient, knows everything, is not the main character, but, like the audience, is outside of the film. But in this case, they made it so that the narrator was another character in the film, but also this narrator is defining the things that are going to happen in his life? Or is she like a vessel just seeing what's going to happen in his life and then putting it on paper? And it's such a fantastic conflict to have in a movie, because it's literally, it's a movie about a book character. It's a movie about what would happen if a character in a book found out that they were being written about and that they were going to die. And it's so good. I mean, it's a feel-good movie. It's definitely something that you should sit down and watch as soon as you have the chance. Can't recommend it highly enough. I know that this is a much quicker review than some of the others, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to try to bust the Blu-ray reviews and stuff out a lot faster. I'm going to try to do a lot more of them. And, yeah, that's Stranger Than Fiction, which I want to know who directed it, because I actually don't know. And the good thing about owning a Blu-ray is that they actually, on the back, have all of this fine information written down that you can find. And it was Marc Forster. Marc Forster directed this film. And it was written by... I can find that too. It was written by a person named Zach Helm. So, yeah, definitely check this movie out. See ya. Okay, so I just wanted to post something else at the end of this video. My first two videos ended with a blank stare into the camera, so I thought I'd do that and then put this little bit at the end for anybody who felt like staying. I just wanted to say thank you to anybody who subscribed. Thank you for anybody who left a comment. And all the viewers, I really appreciate it. I've put up a lot of things on the internet, and I'm going to actually link below to a couple of short films that I did in college. And if you like my content, maybe you'd like to check those out, or maybe not. I don't know. They are college student films that I'm pretty proud of, but they're college student films. So just know that going in, and I hope that you enjoy them. And again, this movie, definitely worth watching. If you're into filmmaking, if you're into the craft of film, if you're into script writing, especially, I would say, this movie is one of my all-time favorites. It's up there with The Truman Show as a movie that is really about what it is to be a character in someone else's story, which I think is a really interesting conflict for a character in a movie. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.